willingly. I gave my heart, my energy, my youth. But I am learning that love, even deep and abiding love, can sometimes coexist with loneliness, invisibility, and quiet abandonment. And that realization is as painful as it is inescapable. I gave my body to motherhood willingly. Every stretch mark, every scar, every softened curve was a testament to love. Love for my children, love for the life we were building together. I surrendered myself without hesitation, convinced that joy and fulfillment would outweigh the changes, that sacrifice was its own reward. I told myself that love, our love, would see beyond what my eyes now show, that it would hold me in a way that celebrated my body for what it had achieved rather than what it had lost. But love has its own complications, and sometimes it doesn't protect against resentment. I resent how invisible my sacrifice feels, even in the quiet moments when I am beside the man I love. I see him glance at me sometimes, his eyes patient, kind, but measured, and I feel a pang of doubt. Does he see the woman who labored, who bore children, who carried life and sleepless nights with courage and strength, or only the softened curves, the fatigue, the evidence of time and motherhood that I cannot erase? Motherhood has made me proud, yes. I have watched life blossom from my body and my care, but it has also made me painfully aware of what is lost. My youth, my firm curves, my effortless confidence. And that awareness carries fear, a constant whisper that he may love me but no longer desire me, that he may cherish my presence, respect my sacrifices, and yet feel a silent longing for a version of me I can never reclaim. I begin to ask impossible questions in the dark. Love, I wonder, should it require me to disappear to be appreciated? Should my existence, softened and changed, only be valuable if I shrink myself, hide my curves, my scars, my tiredness, the evidence of my labor, so that admiration remains intact? Sometimes it feels as if I must erase my body to maintain desire, must hide the proof of motherhood to remain a woman in his eyes. And yet, he is here. He loves me. He has never left. But love without visible hunger, without longing, without celebration of sacrifice, it feels hollow. It feels like survival rather than passion. And I cannot help but feel abandoned, even as he sits beside me, even as he tells me I am beautiful. Because when beauty is spoken but not touched with desire, when love is shown without intensity, it does not fill the void that my fears have created. I am caught in a constant tension between pride and grief. Pride in my resilience, in the life I have carried, in the children I have nurtured, and grief for the confidence, the freedom, and the desire that have quietly slipped away with each pregnancy, each birth, each night spent awake, exhausted, giving without expectation of return. Motherhood has reshaped me, physically and emotionally, and while I cherish it, I also mourn the woman I once was, the one who felt unapologetically beautiful, wanted, and desirable. Sometimes I stare at him across the room and imagine him remembering me as I was before children. I wonder if he longs for that version of me, and if so, what does that make of the woman who exists now, the woman whose body tells stories of life, sacrifice, and love? I love him with all my heart, yet in the quiet corners of my mind, resentment seeps in. Resentment that the body that has given everything feels unnoticed, that the sacrifices I made to build life are invisible in the gaze of desire, that even love can coexist with the quiet abandonment of not being fully wanted. I think of all the nights I have held my children close, my body aching, my skin soft, and I remember the times I hoped he would see me the way I felt inside, alive, vibrant, beautiful. I remember hoping he would reach for me, desire me with the hunger and intensity of someone who loves not only the life we built, but the woman who made it possible. And when that hunger is absent, when desire seems polite instead of passionate, I feel the sting of invisibility and the quiet weight of resentment. I gave my body to motherhood willingly. I gave my energy, my youth, my comfort, my shape. I gave everything I had. And yet I am learning that love, even deep, steadfast, and enduring love, can coexist with loneliness, invisibility, and quiet abandonment. That love does not always fill the void left by fear, insecurity, and the changes that motherhood demands. And that realization, bitter, painful, inescapable, is one I carry every day, quietly, painfully, as I navigate the complex emotional terrain of being a woman, a mother, and a wife whose worth I fear may now be measured more by what I have lost than what I have given. Do you still find me attractive? The words exist only in my mind, lodged in my throat like a fragile, trembling bird. I cannot bring myself to speak them aloud. Every time I consider it, my chest tightens, my hands grow clammy, and a familiar, sharp fear grips me. I am afraid of the answer, but I am even more afraid of never asking. I see him across the room sometimes, doing ordinary things, smiling at the children, offering a quiet word, a gentle gesture, and I love him. I truly do. But in those moments, I feel a distance I cannot cross, a silent reminder that desire may have shifted elsewhere. My mind fills in the gaps with the worst possibilities, that he no longer sees me as a woman, only as a mother, that his admiration once reserved for me now belongs in memory, or perhaps directed towards someone younger, firmer, untouched by life and motherhood. The thought of asking aloud makes me feel vulnerable in a way that scares me. It's not just fear of a no, it's fear of confirmation, confirmation of the doubts I carry every day. It's fear of seeing in his eyes a flicker of something I cannot bear, disappointment, indifference, the quiet acknowledgement that the woman he once desired has changed, and perhaps he no longer desires her in the same way. Every curve, every softness, every mark on my body is evidence of my life, of my children, of the sacrifices I made, and yet I worry that he does not see the beauty in those sacrifices, that he does not notice the woman beneath the weight of life and fatigue. I worry that love alone is not enough to inspire desire, and that desire, like youth, fades even in the presence of affection. I imagine speaking the words aloud, hearing them tumble from my lips. Do you still find me attractive? And I can feel the way the silence would stretch afterward, how my heart would pound in my chest, how my mind would race for explanations, for reassurance, for anything that could reassure me that I am still enough. But the fear is always stronger than my courage. I fear that asking would reveal a truth I cannot unsee, a reality I am not ready to face. Instead, I carry the question silently. It lives in the spaces between us, in the pauses of conversation, in the quiet nights where he lies beside me and sleep is easier than intimacy. It follows me into mirrors, into conversations, into the small moments where I measure my worth against what I fear he may prefer elsewhere. It is heavy, persistent, relentless. And yet, even in this fear, I cannot stop hoping. I hope for a glance that lingers, a touch that reassures, a whisper that affirms that I am still desired, still wanted, still a woman in his eyes. I hope that he sees what I cannot see in myself, that the body that has changed, softened, and scarred is still worthy of his longing. I wonder if he notices my hesitation, my withdrawal, the way I flinch at intimacy even as I crave it. Does he sense the question that lives inside me, or does it go unnoticed, swallowed by my silence, leaving me to wrestle with it alone? The question I am afraid to ask is more than about attraction. It is about recognition, validation, and the fear of being invisible in the one person whose eyes I long to meet. It is about knowing, deep down, that love may remain, but desire may have shifted, and that desire is fragile, conditional, and easily lost. So I remain silent. I carry the question with me like a secret wound, a pulse beneath my skin that aches with longing and fear. I do not speak it aloud, not yet, because to speak it is to risk everything I hold dear, and I am not sure I am ready to survive the answer. Even so, the question will not leave me. It follows me into every quiet moment, every night of self-doubt, every glance in the mirror, every imagined glance towards someone younger, firmer, untouched by time and motherhood. And in its silence, I feel both trapped and alive, trapped in my fear, alive in my need, desperate for reassurance, desperate for desire, desperate to know that I am still seen, still wanted, still enough. Do you still find me attractive? The words are a fragile ember burning in my chest. I cannot bring myself to speak them, though they live in every thought, every glance, every quiet heartbeat when I am near him. They are lodged in my throat, heavy and trembling, choking me with their unspoken weight. I fear the answer, but more than that, I fear the silence that comes if I never ask. I watch him sometimes, without meaning to. A fleeting glance, a casual smile, a touch that lingers slightly longer than usual, and my mind begins to race. I imagine how he might perceive me now, my softened curves, the sag of my breasts after nursing, the faint stretch marks on my belly that tells stories of life I carried. I imagine his eyes lingering instead on someone younger, firmer, untouched by the demands of motherhood. And even if he is faithful, even if his love is steadfast, my insecurities magnify every moment into a quiet torment. The thought of speaking aloud is terrifying. To ask is to risk exposure. It is to admit that I carry doubts, fears, and insecurities that make me feel small, inadequate, and unworthy of desire. It is to admit that I sometimes wonder if the man I love, whose hands once held me with urgency and hunger, now tolerates my presence rather than desires it. My mind spirals. What if he hesitates? What if he struggles to answer? What if he cannot see the woman I have become through the lens of love, and instead sees only what has changed, what has softened, what has been marked by life? I lie awake some nights, watching him sleep beside me, my body pressed close, but my mind miles away. I feel the distance between us in the quiet moments, in the absence of hunger or longing that used to feel effortless. Desire has become measured, polite, cautious. Even in love, there is a space between us, a space filled by my questions, my fear, and my silent plea to be seen. I imagine asking him the question, hearing the words escape trembling lips. Do you still find me attractive? I imagine the pause that follows, the way the air would feel thick and suffocating as I wait for a response. I imagine the weight of his answer, how it could confirm the worst fears I've carried for years, that love remains, but desire has shifted, migrated to a memory of who I once was, or to someone who has yet to bear the marks of life. And yet, even in my fear, hope persists. I hope for reassurance, for an affirmation that my body, softened, scarred, reshaped, is still worthy of his longing. I hope that he sees me not just as a mother, but as a woman who gave herself fully, who loves fully, who is still capable of inspiring passion. I want to hear that he desires me, still chooses me, still sees beauty where I see only imperfection. The question is not just about attraction, it is about validation, about survival, about wanting to feel seen and chosen in a body that has changed in ways I cannot reverse. I wonder if he notices my hesitation, the way I shrink from intimacy, the way he flinches at his touch even as I crave it, or does he take my silence as comfort, my restraint as satisfaction, never realizing that my heart is screaming for reassurance, for affirmation that I am still enough. Carrying this question silently has become its own torment. It follows me everywhere, in the mirror, in reflections of younger women, in his fleeting glances, in the quiet moments between us. It is a pulse beneath my skin, a constant reminder that desire is fragile, fleeting, and conditional. I fear that if I never ask, I may live with the doubt forever. But if I do ask, I may shatter the fragile equilibrium we maintain, revealing insecurities I cannot fully manage. And so, I remain silent. I lie beside him, close yet distant, loving yet anxious, present yet trembling inside. The question lives in my chest, a quiet, burning ember of longing, fear, and unspoken need. I want to feel chosen. I want to feel desired. I want to be seen as a woman, not just a mother, not just someone who gave everything. I want the certainty that I am still enough to inspire longing in the man I love. But for now, the words remain trapped, and the silence stretches between us like a canyon I cannot cross. A canyon filled with love, yes, but also with fear, insecurity, and the haunting possibility of emotional abandonment even in his presence. I have carried the question for years, unspoken but heavy in my chest. Do you still find me attractive? It has followed me through sleepless nights, through mirrors that reflect a body I no longer recognize, through moments of intimacy where I flinch and shrink away from the touch I crave. I have imagined every possible answer, some gentle, some cruel, but nothing has prepared me for the weight of truth when it finally comes. When he speaks, it is quiet, hesitant, but real. He does not promise perfection. He does not pretend that the changes my body has undergone are meaningless or that desire does not shift over time. Instead, he speaks with honesty, revealing a complexity I had never considered. Desire is not only about youth or firmness, but about connection, intimacy, memory, and love intertwined. He reminds me that his attraction to me has evolved, that it is deepened with the life we built together, with the children we nurtured, with the sacrifices we both endured. Listening to him, I realize that love and desire are far more complicated than I imagined. My fears, the comparisons, the imagined glances at younger women, the quiet dread that I am no longer enough, have shaped my perception of him more than his actions ever could. I see now that my mind, conditioned by years of insecurity and trauma, has magnified silence and absence into rejection. I have interpreted caution and patience as disinterest. I have seen affection that lacked urgency as evidence of waning desire. His words are not a balm. They do not instantly heal the years of self-doubt, the nights of feeling invisible, the deep ache of insecurity that has shadowed me since my first pregnancy. They do not erase the stretch marks, the softened curves, the body that has changed irrevocably under the weight of life. But they are truth, and for the first time, I see a reflection of myself in his eyes that is not distorted by fear. He chooses me. He desires me, not as I once was, not as some imagined ideal, but as the woman I have become, mother, lover, survivor, flawed and whole. Even so, hearing his truth is complicated. My wounds do not disappear. Years of fear and rejection have carved deep channels in my heart. I still flinch at intimacy, still doubt my body, still compare myself to younger, firmer women whose laughter seems effortless. His words begin to counter the narrative I have built in my mind, but the scars of doubt run deep, and healing is slow. Each affirmation he offers must compete with decades of internalized fear, stories of replacement, and the quiet torment of self-judgment. I realize that love is patient, but desire is not always immediate. Love can persist even when insecurity rages, even when bodies change and confidence falters. Desire can adapt, evolve, and grow, but it also requires openness, vulnerability, and trust. Hearing his truth challenges me to confront the ways I have abandoned myself, the ways I have allowed fear to dictate my perception of him, and the ways I have assumed rejection where none existed. There is relief, yes, but also lingering pain. Relief that he chooses me, pain that I doubted him for so long. relief that his desire is not dictated solely by my physical appearance, pain that I have internalized a lifetime of trauma, teaching me to measure my worth by what I fear I have lost, relief that his words are real, pain that healing will require me to trust not just him, but myself and my own body as a woman still worthy of longing and desire. In that moment, I understand the fragile